If you are in a company or someone is in a company where CX and UX are really divided, this is the first issue because the magic will happen when the two departments are working together because they are not exactly doing the same thing, but they are serving the same human. The CX will be sure that in the end, the customer journey is optimal. If you think about a product page on an e-commerce website, if you have someone that is pure business, that is totally focused on performance, it will put a lot of colors everywhere to discount and so on and so on. So it will destroy the CX, but maybe improve his KPI on business side for the short term. We have a brand, we have an experience to protect because this is a long-term view. So we cannot do this, and this because we have some guidelines. UX is here to design the best experience possible. So that means to be sure that your website is the best possible in terms of structure, in terms of hierarchy, in terms of journey, in terms of interactions, in terms of everything. What we are doing is to be sure that CX and UX are working together. And where this is not the case, it's sometimes a failure. Before building a strong organization with the RACI, role and responsibility, first of all, is to be sure that people are talking to each other. And if we are doing it the right way, then it will ease accountability. Maybe 80% of the time in this kind of organization, the issue is because people are not talking to each other or because if they are fighting for territories that doesn't make any sense because in the end, one person that is suffering from it is the client.
My name is Jochem van der Veer. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called ADEO, the journey management platform for business decision-making. We raised over $50 million and are growing globally. Our enterprise customers include Ford, J&J, the Home Depot, and Pfizer. I mean, wherever you look, understanding customers is key to staying ahead. But in order to do this at scale, aligning so many different teams with the customer journey is incredibly hard, but it is possible. I really wish this podcast existed before we started our company because so many companies are organizing around journeys and there's so much to learn. So in order to share what I'm learning, what I'm hearing with our community, I meet with industry experts. And in my video podcast, I'm here to explore the world of business strategy, design, and journeys, customer journeys, to really get an understanding of how leaders are changing their way in their business. So let's dive into the show. My guest today is Thomas Caliman. He's the Chief Experience Officer at ADEO, the parent company of renowned brands like Leroy Merlin and Bricoman. ADEO has over 500 million customers who all deserve a great customer experience. And Thomas has led over 350 projects spanning the entire customer lifecycle for his customers, for his partners, for his employees, earning 9 prestigious awards for experience in user-centered design, customer experience, but also design team management. He's a former trailblazer at Amazon and Microsoft. He now contributes to Adobe's think tank, Innovative Design Board, shaping the future of design thinking and customer-centric strategies. So you can imagine, I am very excited to have you on today. Thomas, welcome to the pod.
Hello, Johan. Thank you for welcoming me in this podcast today.
So we maybe could be starting best with Adobe's design board. You're shaping the future of design thinking, customer-centric strategies. Well, you're not doing that alone, but what is the current state and where do we have problems? So we should be looking into the future. Can you start with a little bit of the lay of the land and what we should be thinking of, what are the discussions right now in Adobe's design board?
Yeah. So basically, this is a group like a think tank that we can call that. So this one is I'm joining several people in this group. So basically, this is head of UX, head of design, some CX guys, and so on that we are discussing about a lot of topics because there is a lot, especially at the moment. But let's say the topic that we are covering for months now that are the most, let's say, important or that we are discussing a lot. First of all, this is the place of the design in a small company or larger company. How can the design still be at the very cutting edge of the activities of the company, of the goal of the company? And we are all in totally different places, right? There is very big companies as us in that. There is banking, there is insurance, there is TVs companies, production companies, and so on. So we are totally different stage. And then let's say the most important topic that we are discussing right now is about, of course, as everyone, how Gen AI is impacting and will impact our job in the future. And it's pretty fun because 1 year ago, we had really strong, conviction about, Gen AI is this for the design, it will impact us this way and so on. Now it's totally different. So that means it's evolving a lot across the discussion that we can have. But this is the main topics.
So let's unpack that a little bit. I love if we go off script, but it's important. I mean, design is there to help the business be more performant, and I think that's in general, like, focus on the customer experience. To do that well, to make business impact is the hot potato in many companies today. So, especially in retail where you are. So, what are some of the things that you're seeing where design has an impact also on the bottom line, or maybe like on the top line growth, but I assume it's also on the bottom line? Like, where do you actually see design specifically have that impact?
Yeah, well, in a lot of places. First of all, I still believe, and I truly believe this is our role as designers, to be sure that we are exactly in the middle of the business goals of the company and the user goal or customer goal that will use your services, will buy your product, and so on. So that means we are always, the link between those both goals. And it will, I hope, never change this part. So this is the first thing. And right now, as we said, the market is a bit in crisis. The clients are moving a lot. They are very, sometimes not very loyal to brands. They are moving a lot from one brand to another brand and so on. So that means we need to be sure that we are providing solutions that are close to their goals, because this is the market. The other thing is, I see a strong value in the design because it helps a lot to align everyone in the company, because if you are, I don't know, like a business owner or something, you want to do something specific for the clients, and then you have another one that wants to do something else, and so on and so on. The designer is here to say, okay, guys, we are all maybe speaking about the same thing, because we are here to design stuff, to show stuff. So that means we're able to design the right medium for discussion, to say, yeah, this is this kind of application we are speaking about. This is this kind of service. So this is, for me, the goal of the designer, to align and to facilitate the discussion between everyone and to provide a concept, a North Star, to say, guys, this is the target that we are aiming,
I agree with you that a lot of design is about shaping clarity between stakeholders and conflicting priorities, conflicting decisions. But there's also something else about speaking the language of business. For almost a decade or so, I've seen a lot of design and customer experience team over-index on the customer side of things, like being the voice of the customer, really stepping into their shoes and bringing that to the business, almost like defending their customers. But what they forget often is that is not the language the business speaks. And to do this well, to create that clarity, we need to be literate in understanding what a P&L is, understanding what the financial metrics are, understanding how. So are you training your teams to do that? Like, what are your designers or customer experience teams doing differently than many that are actually failing to be able to link those two things together?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So I don't know if training is the good word. It's more about like a general discipline around the business understanding. Before I was a UX, I was in advertising. I was art director, a creative director in advertising. So that means I was deeply connected with business goals, understanding about marketing and so on. So I mean, in my core brain, when I design stuff, I'm totally connected to say, but when I'm going to put that on the market, will it work or not? Is it credible in terms of feature? Will it bring some business? Will it bring some money? So this is something that can sometimes be a bit off the road in the pure UX design part, because, as you said, designers, we have methodologies, we are advocates from the users and so on. And sometimes it can be a bad word to say we need to make money, but we have to, what I'm saying to the designers in ADEO and even elsewhere, to say, guys, why did we choose to have UX design inside the company? There is companies that they don't choose to have design. They have project managers that are doing stuff without design. This is because when we are shaping an experience that is in line with the user and business goals, the company is more proficient and more performant. So that means UX design is only a new strategy to make business. Sometimes it can be hard to say that, because we are all creatives and want to do very cool stuff for the user outside of the business, but this is the reality. So that said, this is things that I'm saying a lot. The other thing is we need to be sure that the designers are very close to the business model of the product they are working on the companies they are working with, to understand how they can make the difference. How they can bring a new value inside the product that was even known before. We have plenty of examples where companies, they made their best product with designers, and it was the most successful product for the company, right? If we think about the biggest one, Apple, for instance, is a tech company. We provide a lot of tech services, but this is a company that truly believes that design made the difference, and it was the case. This is user experience design that made Apple what it is today, right? In my opinion.
What do you have as an example to share? Because there are a lot of design leaders who are listening, who think like, yeah, makes sense. And my team needs to be more close to the business model, the business operations, and understanding how our unit economics work. Like, can you give a tangible example of where designing a great experience was part of improving the business at ADEO or Bricoman or any other brand that you have? Like, can you give a good example to make this alive?
I think I have many examples. So let me think about something, the most relevant thing. I don't know if this is the design, but this is where the design was impacted. I would say right now we are working in ADEO and on a new application, a new e-commerce application. So in this application, the one of the things was to say we will propose products to buy, like an e-commerce, like Amazon application. Also, we're going to propose services for the client, and we're going to propose X amount of new features. At the beginning, it was only business goals to say we need to sell product, we need to sell services, and so on and so on. But with the designer team, we made like a small design sprint, or we call that a bit different way in ADEO. We call that a hack day. It is another stuff. But anyway, this is a bit the same. And we say, okay, so now we have this, and this. But the product should be interconnected with services, and the services should be interconnected with another service, and so on and so on. So design the concept of this application. And by designing that, it helps a lot to define the value proposition of the product, to say, okay, now this is this way that we're going to make the difference with this product. So this is how we do it. So the design is really in the middle of the business business thinking. When it's in the best I would say situation. Sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes design is arriving very, very far in the process. So we are only like building some fronts, But if I can say something else, also what I say to designers, or what I really would like to say to everyone, is that when we are releasing a product, when we are building a product, we always have to think, even before we are designing it, how are we going to put that on the market? If you have to brief a creative agency tomorrow for your product, what are you going to say to them to be sure that they will provide the best campaign? And this is an exercise that you can do in a very, very, very early stage of the product creation, right? When I was in Amazon, this is a mechanism, what I'm saying to you right now, that is called writing the PR FAQ of the service or the product that you want to release. And it's a very good exercise, because you can say, okay, I'm going to release this product, these services, this way, and so on. This is the value I'm going to bring to my customers. And then you can play for yourself the role of the journalist to say, yeah, but if this is not working this way, how are we going to overcome this problem? Oh, yes, I'm going to do it this way, this way, this way. And this document is moving in ends to ends in Amazon to say, yeah, this service has a real business value, as a real business model. We can invest some money on it, right?
I love that example. And I've heard of the PR release. I've actually, as a designer, used it myself as a technique, and it works really well. To do that early on, I'm fascinated to hear that you're actually helping your teams to do this. Does it mean we have to do it for all the features, for all the products, for everything that we do? Is it a standard practice? How should we think about working backwards from the press release?
Yeah. I think for everything. I don't know. I mean, it's always a question about effort and risk and opportunity, When, of course, I think if you are designing a new product, yes, you have to do it. This is very important, even for your executives in a company to say, yeah, guys, we need to invest money on that. Take a look at the value, and all the questions are already answered to myself to de-risk a bit my project. So I think this is important. The other thing is, if you have an existing product, but you want to release a new feature, I don't know, right now, let's say a new AI feature, right? Because everyone is raising AI feature. But in any case, you should say, okay, so this AI feature, I should write the PR FAQ on it because I need to understand if it's bringing value to my business. Did I think about all the angle of my problem to see, yeah, this is the AI feature I need to bring? Because sometimes when you are writing your PR FAQ, you say, yeah, no, but this is not relevant. I need to change it. I need to modify a bit my idea to be more fitting to the user needs and to the business needs. So, of course, if you are only changing a button, a very small thing, maybe it doesn't worth the effort to write it. But I think it's a good discipline, even if you're not writing it, only to tell that to yourself or to create like a small 30 minutes meeting, faking the meeting of the press conference to say, okay, please tell me what is wrong. There is another way that we can make it without writing the document. Is a methodology called the 5 Hats of Bono. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, what is it?
You don't
Let's put it in.
So this is a very cool stuff. So let's say you are tomorrow, I don't know, designing a new customer journey, a new product, anything new, right? Or even you want to reshape something existing. So you are building the idea, you are building the concept, and then if you use the 5 Hats of Bono methodology, for, I don't know, like 30 minutes, you will put like a fake hat with a specific color to say, okay, let's say the black hat is to say, okay, this idea is very bad. Please destroy this idea with all the weaknesses that the idea can have. Okay. And you write everything. You can do the same with the green hat to say, okay, now this idea is cool, but how can we make it even cooler? And you do. And this way, with all the colors, every hat has a specific role. And in the end, you have like a canvas with everything, and you covered your bad angles from the weaknesses. You are aware about your weaknesses. So yes.
It's such an undervalued process or a little trick to do, even with yourself or with the team, to stillman your arguments and to really go back and like, what can we do differently? What is wrong about it? What could be wrong about it? Or how can we make it 10 times better? Putting on the green hat. I love that example. And sometimes we know of these things, but we are not putting that in practice. And maybe to stay on the Gen AI topic a little bit, because you mentioned that's the other big thing that is in your Adobe Think Tank, one of the topics you're discussing. What has changed? A year ago, you said like, oh, AI is coming for all our jobs and this is what's going to happen. None of that happened. Now all the other things are happening. Like what is happening between Gen AI and being a designer in a company like ADEO? How is it shaping our jobs in a different way?
Yeah. Wow. So much things, in my opinion. Let's say it depends on the stage of the design where you are standing, right? Let's say, for instance, if you are at the very early stage during the research phase, right? Gen AI already changing a lot your work because it will not replace you, never. But it will help you a lot to be faster and to maybe define or find some stuff in the verbatim that you are from the people that you are researching. Anything that will help you to condense all the interviews in one specific sentence. Maybe it will help you to define some insights at some point. So it's a very strong at this point. On the design part, when we are designing the solution, I mean, I think we are only at the very, very early stage of what is going to be in the future, but already we have a solution that you are only prompting your design. I mean, the role of the final, the fine artist, designer, pixel perfect, and so on, which I was before, and I loved it to be, very sharp. But I don't know if this is the real value, or it has as much as value than to be sure that I can prompt the right problem and I can understand that the solution that the AI will show to me is the right one, So that means it's a totally different job. So that means you have to know your customers, you have to know the irritants, you have to have insights, opportunities, and then to write prompting the right thing. The thing that will never change in the design part is the disruption. I say that today, but maybe in 3 months it will be different. Maybe Gen AI or ChatGPT will be able to disrupt something at some point. But disruption is something that is very hard to shortcut with the Gen AI, because it's to say we have the situation and I put a total different input in that situation and I'm able to disrupt it and to create something new, right? Or to innovate with a very real creative gap. For me, this will stay for a long time. So that means this is the role of the designer to say, no, I can connect so distant planets that right now I have a new planet that no one were able to do that before, and a Gen AI cannot do that. So it will stay. The other thing that, in my opinion, should change and will change, this is something that we are testing right now in ADEO. This is not very confidential because I encourage everyone to do the same. It is something that we discovered that was pretty fun. It was on ChatGPT. You can do that on Gemini, on everywhere, is to say that, okay, you start a chat and you say, okay, so right now, ChatGPT, so I'm speaking about my Laurent Merlin client behavior in store, online, and so on. So they like to do that, to do this, and so on. So I'm building like a big persona card. Even if it's not perfect, you can draft it, you can draft it a lot. And you put a lot of information. And in the end, the last prompt is to say to ChatGPT, you say, right now, you are the person we are talking about. And you say, okay, great. I am this person now. And it's crazy because now is incarnating, is the client, and you can start to show him some views of your website, some flows, and so on and so on. And the answers I have as a client when I'm speaking with him are very, very crazy. We did like a real user test with him with a score in the end, like a usability score, on a flow that we already tested with real clients. And it was the same result,
Scary, right?
It's scary, yes, but it's so full of opportunity.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if tomorrow you can feed him with real life data, behavioral data, analytical data, anything that you have from your research and so on, and to reinforce this synthetic persona for the future, you can scale so much the user test and so on, and you can de-risk so much your product with that, and you can do it even for very hard users to target. Whereas clients are very easy they are easy to find for interviews, right? But if you think about the persona that we are covering in ADEO right now, the data scientist, we are working for the experience of data scientists. Try to find an agency that will source you data scientists to test your product. It will be hard at some point. So this way, it is only an idea, but this is the kind of opportunity that we see with Gen AI. And for me, what is the most important right now with Gen AI is we reach so much high level of technology, of possibility, that the only limit that it has, it's yourself. This is the capacity that you have to understand and to project yourself in what it can do. It's not the fact that it cannot do it. It can do it, but you don't know yet that it can do. So that's why it's inverting a bit the paradigm for me.
Yep, I love this example, and I know like a few things about testing this out with building your personas and having synthetic conversations with them. And ultimately, it's about having the right data, right? Trusting that persona model you've built knows about where in the customer journey they are, what the context is, but maybe even understanding where in the business they fit in. What are the metrics around them that they are talking about, right? So they can not only be speaking on behalf of your actual persona, but actually also have that connection with your business. Anyway, like not maybe for today's podcast, but there are some interesting developments around this where synthetic personas or personifying that and democratizing that is going to be possible. But the question is, do we have the right data to feed it? because shallow personas give shallow answers. And if you have the right data, then that will be interesting. But who's the judge of that? So, but maybe that's for another one. Once this is a reality.
Johan, just to answer to this question.
Yes.
You're right. Do we have the right data? Is it accurate and so on? You're right. But isn't it the case with the real human that are treating the data for each? I think this is the same. And I'm pretty sure that we have more potential mistakes when we are treating a large volume of data as a human and be able to then digest them and use them to then design the right stuff because we define the right opportunities and so on, than to trust a model that can crawl in millions of data. Maybe this is not perfect, but I'm pretty sure that is not so far from what we are already able to do.
Right.
So, yeah.
So maybe it's even better. I remember you've been working in design for many years, right? And so have I. So we did this beer brand. We were repositioning them and we did focus groups. And we had a very grumpy person who was actually part of one of the persona groups, and he was a perfect match, but he was very grumpy and he was negative and he was like, but it's fine. Like we got some insights from it. And then 3 months later, there was another group in the company doing a focus group, and the research agency that we used to source participants actually put this person there again on accident. We found out the moment we were in the mirror room and seeing that person. He was cheerful. He was glad. He was exciting. And then later on, we found out that he was going through a very rough time in his life during the first one and then the second. So he gave very different answers. He gave very more in line with his persona. So yeah, maybe when we have synthetic personas, they're more consistent, they're more reliable than actual human beings. If you still do user research with real people.
Yeah, sure.
But let me switch gears to your role as a Chief Customer Experience Officer, because you are not a usual, you didn't have a usual path towards that. A lot of people in that position come more from an operational background, from a business background. You come from design. What would you say is helping you to do that job really, really well, knowing that you're coming from design?
Yeah. You're right. This is a good question. Let's say I come from design. It's true. I come from advertising, as I said before, and I'm doing UX design for years. There's also something that I come from some very, let's say, sharp companies. ADEO is a very sharp company. It's a totally different company as Amazon is doing right now. And Amazon is a very process company, with a lot of process, very sharp. Everyone is speaking the same language in the process. So you can like it or you can't like it at some point. But it helps to have like a structured thinking, to say, okay, we're going to build that this way with this type of document and so on and so on. So it helps you to do that. Coming from the design, so this is the first thing from, let's say, the way I try to structure my work and the work of my team. From my design background, for me, this is not totally outside of the world I'm covering right now, because the role of the designer is to understand the human pain points, the human's irritant, and to define the right problem and to find the problem. For me, this is even more, because I'm from design, this is even more relevant coming from design, because we know the user, we are in front of them, we live their lives normally, we live their lives and we understand everything that they are facing for when they are facing your brand issue or even outside of the brand issue as a human beings, I feel that outside to be a designer, I really try to be connected with everything in my life. It can be sports, it can be kitchen, it can be anything outside, it can be my friends, my families, and so on. So that means I try to be as much average as I can, to be sure that I will always understand the problem, or to be able to put in the shoes of those people. For me, this is very important. And this is why I left advertising, because in advertising, sorry for the people of advertising that my ex-colleague, but in advertising, in the past, it was in earlier, in 2020, 15 years ago. As a good creative is a rock star, This is the guy that is building the best concept ever for the campaign, and wow, it is crazy. And to be honest, he doesn't care if the concept, if the company is working for the people that is sending the message, on that. And for me, it started to be like a real cut in my brain to say, okay, so we are very good creative, but we don't know if what we're doing is serving the client in the end. This is, yeah, because it was, no, we don't care about that. What we care is about to have a price, to have an award somewhere, So that's why I left this kind of design, and then to start to go on product design and to the work I'm covering right now. But I think this is still relevant because we are using in UX design almost the same KPIs as we do in CX and elsewhere. We do NPS, we do CSAT. We are taking care about the sanity of our system and how is it still working or not. So that's why. That's maybe I'm a bit peculiar, but that's why.
I love that. And I think that's right. I also have a background in advertising, or at least like worked at agencies, also as a designer in agencies. So I can relate to like, it's always for the award. It's always for what the client does. Oh, we'll skip research. Doesn't matter as long as it looks great and is a fantastic idea.
Exactly.
But that doesn't work in business. But what you mentioned is interesting. Like you have the same KPIs between UX and CX. And obviously there are such different roles. And yet typically what we are seeing is the customer journey that unites these two. But it's very hard to get those teams to truly speak the same language and be aligned. So UX, CX, what is your secret to making sure that that works well? And we're not talking about, UX is doing the user flows and the nice polished visual designs for this thing. And then CX is figuring out like once it's there, if the customer likes it and if they're satisfied and how do we measure if they're promoting it? But we're really designing the optimal customer experience together. Like what's your secret?
Yeah. So I don't know if this is a secret, but first of all, it's very important if you are in a company or someone is in a company where CX and UX are really divided. For me, this is the first issue because the magic will happen when the two departments are working together, because they are not exactly doing the same thing, but they are serving the same human in the end, right? The CX will be sure that in the end, the customer journey is optimal for the client to be able to do what he has to do. So to buy a product, to meet someone for the customer service, to meet a salesperson in store or by the phone or elsewhere, to be sure that we are the most relevant in this part. And of course, that we are fulfilling our business goals. But CX are not people from the business. They are people that are advocating the client. I give you an example. If you think about a product page on an e-commerce website, okay? If you have someone that is pure business, that is totally focused on performance, it will put a lot of colors everywhere to discount and so on and so on. So it will destroy the CX, but maybe improve his KPI on business side for the short term. The CX person is here to say, hey, we have a brand, we have an experience to protect, because this is a long-term view. And this is the DNA of our brand, to be sure that we are providing the best experience for the client. So we cannot do this, and this, because we have some guidelines. UX is here to design the best experience possible. So that means to be sure that your website is the best possible in terms of structure, in terms of hierarchy, in terms of journey, in terms of interactions, in terms of everything. So that means they are working together. What we are doing in ADEO the most possible is to be sure that CX and UX are working together, And where this is not the case, it's sometimes a failure, right? So we are pushing with the girl in charge of the CX, where I'm working with her a lot. We try to be sure, first of all, before building a strong organization with the RACI, role and responsibility, first of all, is to be sure that people are talking to each other. This is the first step. And if we are doing it the right way, then it will ease the role and responsibility, the accountability of everyone at each steps. So I don't know if this is a secret sauce, but this is sometime, and maybe 80% of the time in this kind of organization, the issue is because people are not talking to each other, or because if they are fighting for territories, that doesn't make any sense, because in the end, when they are fighting, this is always one person that is suffering from it. This is the client. So yeah.
How are you structured? Because having UX and CX under one umbrella is also not necessarily typical. In a lot of agile organizations, we see UX as part of the IT organization or as its own department. It sounds like in your case, you have your CX group and you have your UX group. What else is under your remit? How are you structured?
So the way that we are structured, we have, let's say, two big departments. We have omni-commerce stake, and we have the digital. What we call IT, we are calling that digital and data, right? So this is a bit larger than just IT. So the UX team, so my team, the team I'm managing is under the digital department, all right? So, yeah. And the CX team is under the omni-commerce department. The CX team is a bit smaller right now, because we have designers that are designing the stuff, so we need to have a big workforce to do that. But what we do to avoid to have like a bad Conway law between omni-commerce and digital, we are thinking really regularly with the girl. Her name is Alice. Maybe one day you can interview her. It will be very interesting for you, I think. We have a lot of rituals together. We are building with the UX and the CX. We are building the journey together. We are using a lot of ADEO to do that. Of course, this is a very good medium for us because everyone is speaking the same language. And so we have regular sync. The CX and the UX are working on the job to be done. They are working on the opportunities map. And of course, sometimes the role is more divided between UX and CX because if you think about pure design or design the flows and so on, it's more a UX role. But I still truly believe that the best solutions are coming from a group ideation, right? Even if the UX is the facilitator and they know exactly how to do stuff, I always see a higher value when we have the guy from the CX with us, that we have the guy from the tech with us as well, because a good tech can be a very strong enabler on the experience and can bring some new ideas that we didn't know.
And when you say tech, like, are you a typical agile organization where in this case it's a product owner, or is it actually the tech lead, or is it an engineer? Like, what is tech in your vocabulary?
So we have product owners for sure. At some time when we are working on something that is very new technology, for instance, right now we are working a lot on Gen AI new features. We need to have people that are very proficient in the knowledge of these new technologies and their possibility. We can know as a UX and so on, but we also have to understand if we are thinking very, outstanding things that are not even feasible, or if we have something that can be done in the future because we have the right quality of data, and then we have the right quality of engineering, and then we can do this solution. And sometimes we have this guy that would bring us a new idea to say, guys, did you think about that you can bring this kind of feature? Oh yes, this is a very good idea, so we can add it in the flow. For instance, on the last year, I nominate a new head of UX in my team that is only in charge of Gen AI initiative and new technologies. Because this is a field that is so big and growing every day that we just said that before, that we need someone that is an expert on that and is involved in every way. He has the lead on this design and is working with all the product to understand where we can add Gen AI and how we can do it.
So you mentioned you're using customer journeys to align these different teams. But you also talked about the concept of an opportunity map. Can you unpack that for me? What is that? How are you using that?
Yeah, sure. The opportunity. So when we are mapping, it depends. First of all, we needed to map the existing customer journey, right? So let's say, for instance, you have the customer journey of the client in store, right? We are doing our research. We are defining all the steps according to the use cases. Buy a product, pick up in store and so on. Let's say buy a product. On this, we're going to say, all right, when we are interviewing the real client, we'll say, oh, this one we are pretty good, but this one we have a very bad, let's say, NPS or anything else, something that we need to cover. So that means, thanks to this, we can define opportunities. And then we have a lot of potential opportunities everywhere. Sometimes this is something that will be easy to manage, or sometimes something very hard because it's deeply encapsulated in the back end of the website or elsewhere. So we are using the opportunity, let's say, the framework with the research, the opportunity. Then we are designing the solution, and then we are moving forward. So opportunities, let's say they are the I don't know to say that in English, sorry, but the link, the bond between the reality and where we want to be in terms of solution in the future.
If you're enjoying this conversation, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast channel and leave a review. It makes all the difference. The Experience Edge podcast is where I interview business leaders, CX pioneers, and the best designers who share their insight on creating business impact, having an edge on the customer experience. If you want more exclusive content and behind-the-scenes access, check out the Experience Edge podcast on YouTube and LinkedIn so you don't miss a thing. Now let's get back to the conversation. This sounds very straightforward, but in an organization with so many different customers and so many different teams, prioritization is not that simple, right? If you agree, everyone agrees like this is the journey we're going to tackle and we're going to work on finding some solutions for the problems we have, easy. But when you have so many different opportunities that cut across the supply chain, cut across different teams, how do you prioritize? What are the ways that you make sure the different teams agree on the most important things? Is that by using these opportunities across journeys, or do you have different methods in place to make sure that not only UX and CX, but also product and tech are aligned with everything that you want to do?
Of course. I go beyond, so we have a full product management model and product prioritization. So as we are a big company, we have different kind of opportunities. Some are very big and some are very small. The way that we are organized, so we have platforms to say we have the platform in charge of the customer experience, the one in charge of the salesperson experience in store, and this is in the same because you have a lot of interconnection between them. We have the one for the supply chain and so on and so on and so on. If you think about an opportunity that will be interconnected with the supply chain and the customer platform, for instance. So that means we need to align a lot of people and a lot of domains to be able to create the solution for this. So we have different ways to do that. So we are building in Agile, big initiatives, and even programs. This is very big between the platforms. That means we need to align big teams together. So we are creating a program for this one. Let's say, for instance, I give you an example. It can be maybe a dummy one, but let's say an example where you have to change all the tool for your sales in the store, right? This is very big for a company like us to do that. So this is a program. This is too big to be managed by one specific team. So we have a program manager. We'll be in charge to say, okay, this one has to be prioritized because we have this business value to reach, this user value to reach, we have this opportunity, and we have this effort to make to be able to do that. So this way, as a program is a big stuff, it's going directly in a priority on the company. So this is for the big one. For a small one, if, for instance, you are only at the changing a feature in the product, let's say, so this is at the product team level, you say, okay, so we have X amount of opportunities in the backlog, X amount of stuff that we want to do. How can we prioritize them? So it's pretty easy at the moment. I mean, it's not so easy, but it should be very easy. And we try to tend it to have it easier is to, we are scoring all the opportunities. All right. For instance, if you're at the checkout level, if you need to change the payment, if you need to change the delivery methods, let's say, we discuss together, we define according to interviews we made and so on, and the business value that we're going to bring, that payment is as an higher score as the delivery stuff. So that means it will be delivered before the other one. So we try to mathematize a bit the thing and to have real scores behind everything. The issue that we can still face, and this is the same for each company, is that sometimes how can we align the business goal, the strategical goal of the company with all the prioritization that we made just above, right? Just below, sorry. Because sometimes it can be disconnected. So we need to discuss a lot with the business owners and the business leaders to say, guys, we prioritize this stuff because we know this is the problem to solve. We know that there is maybe a strategic thing to tackle because a competitor is doing that, but we have more data around this one. So it's always a discussion. Yeah.
Talk to me about your quarterly rhythm, because some of these big things, they require sometimes multiple quarters to even materialize and to start. For the running organization, reprioritizing Sounds like you figured out a lot. One thing I'm curious about, and then maybe you can roll that up into the bigger quarterly rhythm so that you are aligned, is that did I get right that you actually are prioritizing on opportunity level? Because a lot of organizations, they have a really good system to prioritize on the solution level, but typically half of them or more than half of them they have nothing to do with impacting the customer value, right? They're like the business value. We need to change this. We want to change this. A product owner stood up and she wants to have this changed right now. And because she's important, we say yes. But a lot of that solution prioritization is in good place. But did I get it right that you're doing opportunity prioritization? So I'm curious about your quarterly rhythm, and is this actually a big thing at ADEO?
Yeah. So you're right? So it depends. On the quarterly rhythm, we have quarter plans. So that means basically we are building the roadmap for the quarter for each product, each platform, and so on. And it depends. Sometimes we are prioritizing according to a solution that is already, it can be already designed, it can be already framed, but sometimes it's very early stage. So that means this opportunity will go into the quarter plan, can be prioritized because we have the information, and we go in the framing phase, on the discovery phase of the design to say, okay, this is it. Maybe we can design this flow and this flow and this flow. And then for the quarter after that, if the solution is sufficient and is impactful for the customer, it will become a solution and prioritized in the next quarter. In terms of rhythm, it depends. You are managing the product, so it depends of many contexts. It depends on the capacity that we have to prioritize the opportunity and then to prioritize the solution against it. It will also depend if this is really aligned or not with an OKR of the company or strategic goal of the company. Sometimes this is the case, sometimes no. So that means sometimes we have to fight a bit in this area. And sometimes it can happen. We are fighting to avoid that happen too much. That's why we created all this system with the scoring and so on. We try to avoid to get rid of the opportunity and only be focused on the solution.
How much of the fighting is still happening? And maybe you can give an example of what happened, because you realize something mid-flight, mid-quarter, something changes. That is a nice way. You have new insight. So you want to change the priorities, and it should still map onto like a business goal or an OKR in that case. I think that's the easy part. But what if that executive comes in with the fantastic idea? Is it a hard no? Is it like, no, this is our system, like you don't have the evidence? Is that really how it works in practice?
It depends. It happens less and less, I think. So it's been 4 years. 4 years, I'm in ADEO. I was in Amazon before, and this is the same in each company, right? Our leaders, you are a founder of a company, so you have a vision, and you are pretty sure that this is the way that we have to go because you have this expertise, you have this vision. This is also why you're here. And sometimes what is a bit more not complicated, but the challenge is to be able to bring new information to the leaders to say, guys, we heard about that. Maybe we have an opportunity. What do you think of this opportunity? Do you think this is something that we should prioritize? Yes, no. And sometimes, no, this is not the way. It's not because we have an opportunity that we need to prioritize it. Because sometimes it's so far from discussion that we don't even have an idea, at very high level for good reasons. It can be for resources. It can be for, a strategic move for the company. It can be for anything else. That means this is always a discussion. And this is how, in my opinion, we have good leaders. If the leaders have the very good vision of where the company should go in the future, but also always listen what is happening on the field to understand if we have to move a bit the needle or not on this. So it depends. So that's why we create a mechanism. We create this kind of system of scoring to be sure that we are in the middle of something. And what can be also changing, disrupting or disturbing the roadmap can be some tech issues, As we said, we have in retail, a lot of companies are in big transformation. Right now we are getting rid of our legacy system and so on. So that means we have a roadmap because the company can be sometimes at risk at some point, because of the technology, the whole technology. So that means sometimes some decision has to be made because we need to move faster on technology. So maybe we have to merge two stack of backend technology. And it will destroy the roadmap of the product that we're planning to launch in 6 months. But we have to do that. Otherwise, we are we are lacking to scale, So yes, it's always a discussion on anything. So I don't have a very precise answer on that because it's, yeah.
That's good, because this is also important for design in general, but also for CX. Like once the business goals are clear and we know how to measure success, it becomes way easier to have that structured discussion on like, oh, we have a new opportunity. We want to bring that forward, but we already know people will be receptive to it because we have the data and it maps onto a business priority. Exactly. If it doesn't, well, of course, then we're still human and then we can have an impact, or at least try to have an impact. On what level are people caring about the customer journey? And this is an important question. I assume on the chief experience officer lens, like the journey is essential, but sometimes the business is taking priority, like in the big transformation projects, merging to back-end stacks, like we don't really care about the customer journey.
Yeah.
But what have you seen over the last 4 years in ADEO? Like, where is the emphasis between where it was 4 years ago and it is today on the customer journey? Are there bigger shifts going? And how do people think about the customer journey at large?
Well, to be honest, I see very good positive sign around that. So, as we are historical retailer, especially Laurent Merlin and Caliman, in our case, in our DNA, the customer experience is something that is very, very important. Laurent Merlin is a brand that is basically selling like DIY products, decoration, project to renovate your house or to create your house. So that means we have a responsibility in the experience that you're going to live in your house tomorrow, And if you come to me to say, I need to reshape my kitchen, it's very important for me as a salesperson to bring you the best service possible and the best kitchen possible. Because we know that you come to us because you don't have an idea of how to do, or why you should take this or this. So that means in our DNA, it's the customer experience was still something very important in the past. What changed a bit in 4 years, that we are changing a bit our marketing direction and omni-commerce direction. And we created this CX, the CX transversal stake. We had a new omni-commerce leader a few years ago, someone called Michela Lamberti, coming from Uber, coming from McDonald's and Zalando. And one of the first things that we worked on, even anything else in all the pillars of the business, because she's owning all the business, is yes, but how are we going to bring a 5-star customer experience to all of our customers? And anything should be based on this paradigm. We need to bring the best customer experience possible. So for me, this is a good organization so that means we have someone in charge of the business, but also in charge of the customer experience. So that's why I see good sign. And right now, as I said, we have someone in charge of all the full CX. I'm working with her. We have people in each e-commerce experience and so on. So that means the customer experience is something that is on the lips of everyone in a company. We build all the customer journey. We build also all the employee journey, the partner journey, the seller journeys. We start to understand exactly the interdependency between all the journeys. And this is one of the key. So that means when we understand where a client has a touch point with a salesperson, if the salesperson has a good experience, we know that the client will have a better experience. And in the end, we're going to have a better brand perception and higher business. So for me, I see a really good sign on that right now.
So from one designer to another, like we know what a customer journey is, right? How to read it, how to understand it. But your peers, your other leaders across the business, they might not appreciate it or maybe think like it's too technical, right? Because it is still like a very technical representation of the customer experience. How do you think about sharing journeys and talking about journeys? What is the language that you're using across business leaders that are not maybe necessarily from design or customer experience specifically?
Yeah. I think let's say the main challenge that we have is to make them understand it's a bit different, the customer experience and the customer journey, and the business process is totally a bit different. But it's a bit similar. It's following the same flow, everything. So this is the first thing, to make them understand that this is the journey that we have today. This is the journey that we want tomorrow, but still, this is a customer journey. And this customer journey is a step-by-step stuff. This is, let's say, the process, the step-by-step that you need to do. And you have the flow. This is where and how they are doing it. This is on the website, this is on the store, and so on and so on. So it's important. I mean, what the challenge that we have, it's important to make them understand that this is simple in the end. This is a step-by-step. The client has to be sure that he's happy everywhere in the end, because in the end it's good for us. The challenge that we have is to be sure that we are not starting to be too much technical, because otherwise, the biggest issue that we can have is to have a lack of adoption in the customer journey or the journey understanding in the company, because it seems to be a bit too technical or something too much from the CX guys or the UX guys, And at the end, this is what we try to explain, to say, no, this is a simple thing that everyone is working on every day, in the end. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you don't know that you are working on that and he's working on the same stuff together. So this is like, I'd say that this is a medium where everyone is working around it or on it. So this is what we do. And I'm sorry to make the advertising of ADEO, but in any case, ADEO helped us a lot on that, because the view that the tool is able to bring can be very simple, or it can be very complex. I mean, complex because for the experts that are working on it, So the fact that we can have something that you say the step by step, and this is the thing that we're going to share with our executive. They know this is managed, this is mapped somewhere. They can go to see it. This is the first step. And then the professionals, the guys like me, like the CX guys or my team that are working on that, we can go deeper on the opportunities, on the insight, on the verbatim, and so on, and we understand the things. So I don't know if it answers your question, but yeah.
Yeah, so that was what I was mainly curious about, because you have like the abstraction layer, right? The experience map, which is typically simplistic.
Yeah.
Like, where's the big drop off? Where's the peak? Where's the happiness? What's going on? Where should we improve? And then you have the customer journey, which is maybe like a person going through their specific set of steps. But then the middle part, like the micro journey, where specific part of your customer base is doing it like this all the time, which is part of the experience. So I think like that is very technical, but once you found a language in your company to talk to executives, as well as link it back to the teams that are actually working on improving that experience, then you're on the right path. So I was really curious how you are doing that and thinking about it.
And on this part, so you're totally right though. So we have the experience map, but then we have the journeys and so on. The goal also is to make understand that every platform, every domain, every product, they're all acting. I mean, you can also almost have a mirror organization between both. What I find very, very cool about the journeys is that in the end, if you dive deep into the journeys, everyone in the company understand that they have a role on the bigger picture. I'm not only a sales in store selling kitchen. I am someone that is impacting the company because I'm in the responsibility of the brand perception. I'm the responsibility of the performance of the group, and so on and so on. And maybe I'm bringing something that will be scaled elsewhere because I have a best practice in my store. So I really like the fact that for me the success of an organization is when everyone understands that they are a part of an ecosystem that is bringing value and is a very important part in this. I mean, everyone is very important. Everyone is impacting a very important piece of the engine of the company. I think this is important for the perception of your own work, that people understand, even my team as a designers, that guys understand that this is very important that you are doing. We are not doing something like this. We are doing something very important. If we are failing, the system start to fail as well. So this is something important for me. Yeah.
Right. And just having that simple, like you said, mirror of your business through the eyes of your customer experience and have everyone understand their place in it is maybe the most undervalued thing that you're actually building towards while delivering a great customer experience. So now we're talking about journeys. I want to do something fun. I want to talk to or ask you about your first journey, your last journey, your best journey, and your worst journey. Shall we do that?
All right.
So let's start with the first. Do you remember anything that comes to mind?
So it can be something I designed or something I lived.
Something you designed or experienced yourself. Can be anything. Like first customer journey.
All right,
ever in your life.
Yeah. So So it's I don't know if this is the first, but this is something I remember, and I was a bit impressed by the impact of it. So few years ago, I worked in Microsoft, and I was working on an Xbox experience. So it was a thing. So it was in advertising. So we built a small game, on a device called Kinect. I don't know if you remember this device, the Kinect, right? So that means you can move your hands and your head and then interact directly with the screen. And we built a small game with fire and ice, in like a very dark planet, something very, very cool. And it was for a coffee brand. And this is a game that we put on the marketplace of Xbox. And when I designed it, I found it very cool because I love video games and stuff. I found it very cool. But I was like, yeah, but come on. This is a very bad game, right? This is a very shitty game in the end. And okay, so we released it. I was very happy because for me as a young designer, it was really cool because it was on Xbox and stuff. But I said, okay, this is a shitty thing. And like 3 weeks ago, we discovered the results of this game, the result on the customers. And it was crazy. So that means we have like maybe 50,000 gamers on the game in 3 weeks, with a lot of contest between them to see who is going to fight, who is going to beat the other, with the ranking of all the players on the Xbox network. I was like, wow, this is so bad. But in the end, this is something that is fun for everyone. So that means it was a very simple game, but the simplest, the better, maybe.
Right. Simplicity. It is always a pattern that is going back. So let's talk about your worst journey then. Is that the most complex, or what is the worst journey that comes to mind?
No, this one, the worst journey, I think this is the one I'm telling to my friend the most and to my colleague the most right now. So this is a bad experience I had in the north of France, in Lille, because this is the headquarters of ADEO. And when I go in Lille, I take the train from Paris, and then I take the taxi from the station, the train station, until the headquarters. And I am an American Express owner, And when you take the taxi, they have like this new device called the sum up device. They can pay with the sum up device, and this device accepts the American Express. So for 2 years, I took the taxi, I paid with my Amex, and then I go to the office. But when you pay with the Amex, the guy is giving you the device and you pay, and then it is not seeing if this is an Amex or something else. Okay? So one day I take the taxi and we start to drive, and the guy is looking at me at the mirror, like this, say, "This is you, the guy who's paying with the Amex?" I said, "Oh, wow. Yeah." He said, "Yeah, because we know you, because we are speaking about you on the WhatsApp of all the taxis of Lille. Because it's very bad what you're doing." I said, "Sorry?" Yeah, because we are losing so much money while you're paying with your Amex. If you're paying with your Amex, I'm going to charge you like 10 euros more, and so on and so on. I said, "Man, I'm sorry, but I'm paying. I'm paying with the card that you don't like, but I'm paying for this card, right?" And I said, "Guy, I'm sorry, but this is if I cannot pay with my card, I will take the Uber." And he said, yeah, but do not pay anymore with this card, please. And then I'm went out from the taxi, So since then, I avoid to take the taxi indeed.
Oh, wow. I have the head of customer experience and transformation of Amex on the pod soon. So what should we tell her or ask her?
Yeah. But what was crazy is that they spoke about me on their WhatsApp because, the guy, the brown guy with the beard. So it's you, like policeman that's chasing me in the city. So yeah, it was a bit scary, but it's okay in the end.
Okay, well, we'll make a note of that, and let's ask what Amex has to say about this.
Yeah.
So, what about your best journey?
Well, my best journey. So maybe I would say once, and it would not be very exceptional, outstanding, but I mean, for 2 years, 2 years and a half maybe, I'm living a very cool customer journey every day, This is the one with ChatGPT. I think really, I think this tool is changing so much the way I'm interacting with digital in general. I made myself the thinking in my mind to say, I think I heard more the voice of my ChatGPT bot than the voice of some of my family members or some of my friends, because I speak with him every day, about anything. And which is fun is that I think that it breaks a lot the barrier between the technology and the human, because this is a very, I think that the voice recognition and the voice synthesis of ChatGPT is very cool at the moment. I have an Alexa for 6 years, and wow, this is so much different, So I still think that this is my best customer journey so far on digital, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be in the future, because it's really, breaking the border between me and the digital, and I know I can ask anything, and I always have a relevant answer, and it helps me a lot every day. I don't know, it's not something very big, but yeah.
Thomas, It was fantastic to have you on. Such a lovely energy you have, and we covered so much, a wide variety of topics. If people want to know more about your work at ADEO or hear more about what it means to be a customer experience, chief customer experience officer, coming from a design background, and why that plays a role, where can they find you? What's the best place to reach out to you?
In Paris or on LinkedIn, you can directly contact me if you want. Yes, and I live in the center of Paris, so if you want to take a coffee or something, even you, Joachim, I would be glad to see you in real person. But in Amsterdam, maybe.
That would be great. I have some travel plans to Paris upcoming, so maybe I'll hit you up.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Thomas.
Thank you, Joachim.
All right, and that's it. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this valuable today, don't forget to subscribe to The Experience Edge on your favorite podcast channel, leave a review, and share it with your team. I'd be delighted. Today's episode was brought to you by ADEO, the AI journey management solution for enterprise. To have an edge on your business strategy and to know why your customers do what they do, visit adeo.com and explore more resources to accelerate your customer experience game. And remember, the journey to creating customer-centric impact never ends, and here's always a new edge to discover in doing things differently. Next week, new episode. Until then, keep pushing the edge and stay inspired. See you in the next episode.